Well, it is challenging to be here, I suppose, but we think that we have a very important message about the fact that coal is continuing to play a big role in the world's energy mix, and that's something that's going to continue for the decades to come. And so we think it's very important to focus on the role of the low-emission technologies for coal, which are the high-efficiency plants that are commercially available today, and work more on carbon capture and storage, which will be critical in the decades to come.
Why is it you think that carbon capture and storage hasn't really taken off in the way that everyone has been predicting for years?
Well, I think we've seen that governments haven't put the same sort of support, the same sort of policy mechanisms in place for carbon capture and storage as we've seen for, say, renewables. We've had a big success story with renewables growing significantly in recent years. But if you look at the policy support, the subsidies that have been put in place for carbon capture and storage, for example, it's been about $20 billion over the last, over all time, in fact. Whereas over the last 10 years, we've had about $880 billion worth of subsidies put in place for renewables. So with the support and the policy direction that governments are putting in place, it's very clear that they are signifying a role for renewables. They haven't done the same thing for carbon capture and storage, which is disappointing, and it's a challenge.
Of course, Donald Trump, during his election campaign, got squarely behind the miners of Virginia, said he was going to support the coal industry. Do you take much encouragement from that? Is he actually doing things on the ground?
I think it is positive to hear the President talk about the role of coal and the role of cleaner coal technologies. He's certainly made some policy changes to support that in the US. But here in the negotiations, the US today is actually running an event looking at the role of cleaner fossil fuel technologies, including cleaner coal.
Britain and Canada have been calling for an accelerated phase-out of coal-fired electricity, and indeed they're going to repeat that at the summit later this week. How concerned are you that other countries are going to take note of that?
Well, there are, in fact, 24 countries that have included a role for low emissions coal technology as part of their Paris Agreement commitments. So countries like India, China, many of the Southeast Asian countries have also included a role for low emission coal technologies as part of their Paris climate commitments. So, I think that coal is going to continue to play a big role in the world's energy mix for the decades to come. And that's why it's really important to focus on the role of the low emission coal technologies that can actually help reduce emissions while also getting the affordable and reliable electricity coming from coal.
You're quite sceptical that the UK is going to meet its targeted phase-out of coal-fired electricity by 2025. Why is that?
Well, I think we'll see, what happens, but we need to see, significant additions of other capacity, essentially, for that to happen. I take the UK government at their word. That's what they say they want to do. But I think it will be a challenge, and we'll see what happens in 2025.
Now, it's quite ironic that this event's being held in Germany because, of course, Germany is dependent on coal for getting on for 2/5 of its energy. There were thousands of people protesting at the weekend about Germany's coal use. What would you say to them?
Well, I understand their concern, and you're right, Germany gets about 40% of its electricity from coal. Germany is a country that has had the Energiewende, it's called, the energy change, which has seen huge additions of renewable capacity, wind and solar. But I think it points to the fact that coal still does play an important role even when we've had big additions of wind and solar.